Record it.
Is it years? Okay, years.
Are we already recording?
We're recording already.
Okay, so run me through quick. So whatever you gotta just say. You know what I mean?
We're gonna unbox this first.
I don't want to trip on your toes. That's it.
No, we could just do that. We'll just wing it like we always do.
Wow. I cannot believe this was 3 years ago. Sometimes it feels like only yesterday I plugged in my Switch for the first time and booted up my most anticipated game, Breath of the Wild, and thought, wow, I made it. I know that sounds a bit dramatic, but the wait for the Nintendo Switch and Breath of the Wild was a long and gruesome one. Again, dramatic, but hear me out. Before the Switch came out, the Wii U flopped, Zelda got delayed twice, and Nintendo fans were hungry for the next big thing. Even hungrier than they are now for the next Nintendo Direct. We spent every waking moment wondering when Nintendo would announce their next console, codename NX, and that announcement came in the form of not an E3 stage show, but a 3.5-minute trailer that sent shockwaves throughout the gaming community. Then they had a stage show a few months later that was a thing.
Splatoon 2.
In spite of the odds that were stacked against it, like more Wii-like gimmicks, expensive accessories, and a weak launch lineup save for Zelda, the Nintendo Switch went on to be a massive success, selling over 52 million units as of last December, surpassing not just the Wii U's sales, but the Xbox One's as well. Look, I could go on and on about how successful the Nintendo Switch is, but we're on the cusp of the console's 3rd anniversary, so I want to talk about just what kind of a journey we Nintendo fans have been on with this system. We're talking the good times, the bad times, the weird times, all the times. It's gonna be fun. Right off the bat, the Switch's first year on the market was perhaps the best first year of any game console I've ever seen. It certainly helps that they had one of the greatest games of all time as a launch title. Even if you're just now buying a Switch and can only afford one game with it, Breath of the Wild is a fantastic title that will keep you occupied for hundreds upon hundreds of hours. And that wasn't all the goodness to happen in 2017, as every month had some form of a heavy hitter, whether it was a new game, a Wii U port, or an indie, or in this case, Nindy. Do you know how awesome it was to play Stardew Valley on a portable console? Even today, the Switch is my go-to platform for most indie games. That's why I waited so long to buy Cuphead. And I still haven't beaten it, but back to 2017, because oh boy was that year wild. Breath of the Wild. Really though, to start off the launch with Zelda, continue with an amazing Nintendo E3, keeping that up with Mario and Rabbids, and ending it with Mario Odyssey, Doom, Skyrim, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Nintendo, oh my god, you spoil us so! 2017 just felt too good to be true. One of the best Zeldas ever made, and a return to form for 3D Mario, plus all these other hits? How could Nintendo keep up the momentum going into 2018 and 2019? They kinda didn't. Obviously, not every year can be a banger for a game console, but there's something to be said about the first year of the Nintendo Switch, considering that neither 2018 nor 2019 could live up to 2017. I think we can all agree though that 2018 was the weakest year for the Switch so far. The game library at that point mainly consisted of ports, Pokemon, and Smash Bros. Oh, and Nintendo Labo. Remember Labo? Cause I totally forgot. Mostly because I'm a 20-something-year-old dude with no kids, but this was a cool idea that I'm sure people had fun with for about a day or two. As for the other games, no doubt Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was the one to hog the spotlight for the entire year, ever since it was announced in that March Direct, and then Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee were announced 2 months later. Both of these games, however, wouldn't come out until November and December, leaving the rest of the year to Nindies, ports of Wii U games, ports of third-party games, and some less than memorable exclusives. I've gotten a lot of flack for saying this, but I wasn't very impressed with the Switch's output of games in 2018. Even at the end, I thought Pokemon Let's Go was just okay, and to this day I only play Smash Bros. Ultimate whenever I have friends over. I still haven't bought the Fighter's Pass, mostly because I'm lazy. And at this time I was working for Commonwealth Realm, a YouTube channel with a pretty big subscriber base, so I have a unique perspective of 2019 as a content creator. Imagine spending most of the year making videos about almost nothing but Pokemon and Smash Bros. And can you also imagine having to deal with their toxic fan bases? Yeah, not fun. Let's also not forget that 2018 was the official launch of Nintendo Switch Online. I made a separate video about this a while back, so I won't dwell on it too much, but man, What a disaster. No built-in voice chat, no cloud saves for every game, and an underwhelming supply of classic games. Remember Virtual Console? Yeah, those were the good old days. And the only reason why Nintendo Switch Online is selling so well is because it's practically a requirement. Sure, it's only $20 a year, but I would much rather pay more if that meant every game was cloud save compatible and there was built-in voice chat. Either way, I don't play online games that much, so right now I'm not paying for that garbage service. Nintendo, it's the 21st century. Adapt! Now, as for 2019, we did have a more diverse lineup of games spread throughout the year, so in that regard, it was already better than 2018, but it still lacked that oomph that I was hoping for. And yet, I didn't play Fire Emblem Three Houses, so what the f do I know? The highlight for the Switch in 2019 was the release of the Nintendo Switch Lite. It does everything the Switch does, but without the switching. Joking aside, this was an incredibly smart move, because there are a ton of people who just want to play the Switch in handheld mode, and to give them that option for a measly $200 was a great idea. Even more so when you consider the possibility of Lite owners upgrading to a standard Switch because they want to play their games on the TV. That's more money in Nintendo's pocket right there. And as for games, 2019 honestly felt weird. Not just for the Switch, but gaming as a whole. It wasn't a bad year by any means, I just didn't feel like there were any definitive masterpieces like God of War or Red Dead Redemption 2 battling it out for Game of the Year. As for the Switch's library in 2019, it was awesome and diverse, with games like Astral Chain, Link's Awakening, and my Game of the Year, Luigi's Mansion 3. Oh, and speaking of Games of the Year, The Witcher 3 got a Switch port, and it was amazing! Even then, after I was done playing the other games, I quickly moved on. They just didn't leave an impact on me the same way games like Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey have. Am I saying every game needs to be as impactful as Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey? Absolutely not. I'm just observing that 2019 wasn't filled with as many impactful games on all platforms as other years. Something 2020 I know will more than make up for. Look at these games. Holy sh! Still, you're probably annoyed with me right now because I forgot to talk about Fire Emblem Three Houses and Pokemon Sword and Shield, and to a lesser extent Yoshi's Crafted World, and for that I'll just say it was fine but Woolly World was better. Anyway, I've been hearing nothing but great things about Fire Emblem Three Houses from fans and non-fans of the series, so I'm definitely going to give it a shot at some point. I'm sure if I'd played it last year, it would have gone on my top 10 list. Unlike Pokemon Sword and Shield, which I've heard nothing but controversy after controversy after controversy. I'm sure a lot of people liked this game, but nothing from the trailers or reviews have made me want to buy it. Matter of fact, they made me not want to buy it because I don't want to support that kind of laziness. I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel. If you like the game, more power to you, I won't judge. I'm just saying Pokemon has to do something quite revolutionary in order for me to finally be interested. And yes, I am talking about a Breath of the Wild style revamp. I don't care how long it takes them, when they finally do it, that's when I'll jump on board. Oh, and speaking of jump, Ring Fit Adventure was also a thing I didn't get to play. And not because I hate exercise, but yeah, I hate exercise. So here we are in 2020, and unsurprisingly, news on the Nintendo Switch has been light. So far, we know Pokemon will be getting a new expansion, Animal Crossing New Horizons will be a definitive banger, and as for upcoming games after that, we know we're getting Bayonetta 3 at some point, Breath of the Wild 2 at some point, and Metroid Prime 4 at some point, but definitely not this year because Nintendo f***ed up and didn't give it to Retro Studios from the start. I'm not salty, you are. But now that the Switch is turning 3 this year, can we really say that it lived up to the hype? Yes? What, did you think I was going to be a contrarian and say that it sucks? I'm not that brave. Obviously, it could use improvements in quite a few areas, like a better UI, a good online service, and Joy-Cons that don't f***ing drift! Still, there are far more good qualities of the Switch than there are bad ones, and the good qualities are in the game library and the concept of the device itself. I mean, you can play a massive open-world RPG like The Witcher 3 on this device. How crazy is that? I think some of us who've owned the Switch for so long have kind of taken the handheld feature for granted and forgot about just how impactful this feature is for the console. Without this so-called gimmick, the Switch wouldn't be nearly as successful as it is today. Even when third-party ports don't look as good on the Switch as they do on other platforms, the reasoning is understandable, and I don't think many people would scoff at the idea of playing a not as good-looking port of The Witcher 3 if that meant they could play it on the go. Still, the Switch is far from perfect, and I hope we see some notable changes to it in 2020. And if I had to choose one thing for them to fix, it's the Joy-Con drift. It really shouldn't still be a problem 3 years later. Come on, guys. But those are just my thoughts on the Nintendo Switch 3 years later. What are your thoughts? Do you think the system is perfect? Do you think it could be better? Do you think it could be worse? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you're going to buy your first Switch very soon, just remember, make sure it tastes good.
No! You literally licked it. You literally put that on. You literally licked it.
Hey, thanks so much for watching this video here on FerrisWheelPro. If you liked it, be sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you're new to be notified when I upload another one. Special thanks goes to my Patreon supporters Justice to Free, Stephanie Ferris, and Smash JT. Again, thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next ride.